Catnap has arrived, and he's gonna put everyone to sleep. Mob have introduced him and the rest of the smiling critters in the best way possible. An old school deep fried 90s commercial. Or is it a commercial? I'll be getting into that, because I've got 10 secrets to show you about the Smiling Critters cartoon. So let's just jump straight into this thing. A few days ago, Mob posted this absolutely mangled video on their Twitter, which shows us a scuffed version of the cartoon, which obviously inside of it held some secrets. And then the ARG code breaking ensued, which I couldn't care less about. Until this point, for us to get our hands on the actual full video of the cartoon, we had to enter in a unique code into one of the files. That code being the word Hypnogogia, and its definition is simple. Hypnogogia is the transitional state from wakefulness to sleep, aka the feeling you have when you're about to fall asleep. But when you get into the symptoms, that's where things get weird. And as you guys know, I save best for first. So I'm about to hit you with the craziest theory I have. Firstly, you become susceptible to a range of hallucinations. And it's possible for these hallucinations to manifest into random images in your mind, with those images being richly colored. Not only that, there's a cognitive phenomena that happens as well. When you're in a state of hypnagogia, thought processes on the edge of sleep tend to differ radically. It's said that something that you agreed with within a state of hypnagogia may seem completely ridiculous when you wake up. So hear me out. So you know that red gas that we know and love? It's not just being used to put the children to sleep in the orphanage. It may be used to put the children into a state of hypnagogia. And in that state, that's where they see the smiling critters. The posters and pictures of them all over the orphanage manifest in their mind when they're in that state. Potentially a prolonged state. The rest of the smiling critters might not be real, with our boy Catnap being the only one that is real. In the cartoon, we also get a hint towards this, with him being the only one that turns 3D for a moment. Not only that, in this state they can probably also be convinced to do experiments. Their altered cognitive state will allow them to agree to things that they wouldn't usually agree to, like their soul being scooped into a toy. Anyway, enough with the heavy stuff, on to detail number 2, the waving critters. Now that we're past the deep fried version of the cartoon, we'll just look at the real cartoon. And right at the beginning of the cartoon, we see this logo. You probably would have just looked past it and not noticed a certain detail difference about Catnap compared to the others. Literally every single one of them is waving towards us except for him. It's pretty obvious this isn't random, but it could be a reflection of something else. Whether the rest of the smiling critters are just imaginary manifestations or real things, they clearly don't share the same feelings as Catnap. They seem to be a little bit nicer than him. In the cartoon they talk, over here they wave, where Catnap is cold and a mute. Could this mean that they will help us? Who knows? On to the next one. Detail number 3, 1006. Honestly, kudos to the fandom for this one, because I would have never noticed it. But you know that ominous clock right at the beginning of the video? The one for some reason that has bones for arms. But then again, it does look like we're in a bit of a doghouse. But anyway, the clock seems to strike 10:06. And when you put those numbers together, it makes 1006, the prototype. It's not just a little nod towards him, I think it also is trying to remind us that he is the overlord in this world. We also got a little bit more info through the ARG about 1006. It's this photo of Theodore with the prototype hiding under his bed, reaching out to grab his foot, almost telling us that he's still pulling the strings from the shadows. It's also pretty obvious that Theo's imaginary friend that we hear about in the ARG is probably 1006. But yeah, anyway, I love this one because I just never would have noticed it on the clock. I never would have put that together. Anyway, on to the next detail. Huggy Waggy's in the video. This is another fandom one, and to be completely honest with you, I was really skeptical. I honestly saw no evidence of Huggy Waggy being in this video until I did the research myself. I had to do my Photoshop magic to really find him, because he's hiding in the weirdest place ever and he's extremely hard to see. There's a moment where the blue elephant won't stop yapping, and in the void of his dark, jarring mouth, you can see a statically superimposed picture of Huggy Wuggy. Huh? Come on, you can't see him? I don't blame you. That's why I'm here. So I've got a Photoshop enhanced version of this screenshot. You can see the blueness of his head, the white dot of his eye, and the clearest thing, his smooth red balloon toy mouth. I also read in the fandom's Discord that he can be found in other places as well, but honestly the effort it took to just get this one clear, I can't be bothered looking for them. So if you do know of any, let me know. But we gotta mention, this probably means he's coming back in this chapter. I made a theory earlier this week that because Kissy Missy is gonna make an appearance, confirmed by the devs on their Discord, and because her companion is Huggy Wuggy, surely we're gonna see them together. If she has a significant role, I don't think it's gonna be her just randomly helping us. I think we're gonna see her with her boyfriend, and little Easter eggs like this make me think he's definitely gonna come back as well. Anyway, on to detail number 5, the critter's tails. Now I don't think this one goes too deep, but it's a really cool detail. As the door ominously opens and Catnap's silhouette fills the room, when we focus on his tail, we actually notice that it's in the shape of a 3, obviously being a nod towards this being chapter 3 in Poppy Playtime. And we know his tail isn't permanently like this because we see it in other scenes where it's not in the shape of a 3. It's kind of like he's telling us this is what I'm gonna do in chapter 3, literally. But then again, when he looks back at the rest of the critters, this fat pig's tail is also in the shape of a 3. That was so overly mean for no reason. Anyway, cool little nod towards the chapter. On to detail number 6, addiction. Just a bit of a warning, the themes in these secrets moving forward are a little bit darker. But hey, blame Mob Games, not me. So the reaction that the critters have when they see Catnap is very unusual. They're obviously struggling to sleep, and Catnap's power has a solution towards that, which is his gas putting them to sleep. But their reaction is not one of relief. Relief that they can finally find some sleep. It's more like one of fiending. The type of reaction that a drug addict would have when they need their next fix. They go from speaking to each other normally to speaking over each other to get their voice out. And what's even more terrifying is when you apply this to the children in the orphanage. Now, I think it's a little bit too dark to assume that the gas itself has a drug inside of it that makes them addicted. I think what's more likely is that they have an addictive reliance on it, which is a result of the environment that they're in. For example, the critters are in a windy, stormy environment. The sounds from that storm not allowing them to sleep. But the orphans are deep under the facility. They won't have issues like this. So does that mean the people at the orphanage induce these sorts of things so that the kids can't sleep? Unless they get their fix of the gas. The only way that they can force them to love it. Or maybe they just can't go to sleep because they're held in captivity. You know, trauma and all of that. Anyway, on to detail number 7, psychosis. I don't know a single person that didn't get a shiver down their spine when they saw the gas going into the critters. They didn't simply inhale it. They escalated into a psychotic screech and yell. And when you listen to their voice lines specifically, they transform. I'm starting to get the feeling that the gas has a different effect on these critters. We said before that they might be nice because they're waving at us, but Catnap might have another effect on them, transforming them into deranged psychotic animals. And those are going to be the two sides that we have to deal with the critters. But anyway, let's get on to the next detail. Detail number 8, the toys' names. In the ending credits, we get to see 3 new names. Dog Day for this guy, Picky Piggy for this guy, and Bobby Bear Hug for this guy. But just like the phrase Catnap means go to sleep, these names also have some more connotations towards them. So let me tell you what they are. So the name Dog Day is actually really clever, because we know he's got the charm on his neck of the sun, and he's a dog. But there's 2 significant definitions for Dog Day. One is a really hot, sweltering day, which usually occurs in the summer months, which makes sense if he symbolizes the sun. But there's another definition of having a dog day. It means a period of stagnation or inactivity. Basically, you had a really unproductive day. Maybe he eats the orphans that aren't having good productive days. I don't know, let me know what you guys think. Then we've got Picky Pig. Usually being a picky eater is when you're unwilling to eat familiar foods or try new foods, as well as having strong preferences. And this is generally associated with young children, the exact age of the children that will be in the orphanage. So maybe this mascot eats the kids that are being picky eaters. And then we've got Bobby Bear Hug. I feel like because he's got the heart symbol on his neck, he's gonna be something to do with infirmary. Maybe he gives you a hug after you're sick. But it's also weird because Huggy Waggy's whole thing was about hugging. But anyway, on to detail number 9. The smiling critters are based off of Care Bears, but not any Care Bears. I think after this cartoon came out, everyone kind of realized that this was what they were based off. Kind of like Mommy Longlegs being based off of Betty Spaghetti. But there's a certain type of Care Bear, the scented ones. There's a whole theme about inhaling, smelling, and gases. So considering these guys are based off of the OG Care Bears, and some of the OG Care Bears had smells associated to them, you would scratch their stomach and then you could smell it. What if these guys also have their own scent or gas as well? Because of the cartoon, we're assuming only Catnap can do it, but there's no confirmation that these guys can't do their own thing as well. It might be a little bit of a reach, but I still think it's worth noting their original inspiration. Anyway, on to detail number 10. This video isn't for the public. The way we've watched it and the way that it's been produced makes it look like it's a cartoon, something you would see on TV every single day. But this isn't a cartoon for the public. This is a cartoon specifically for the children in the orphanage. This is their training video. It's a way for the terrified orphans to be acclimatized towards inhaling the gas. It's their sick way into tricking them that it's okay and this is what they're gonna do every single day. It's probably something that they show to new orphans when they enter the orphanage. Kind of like an intro tutorial. I wouldn't be surprised if we see this replaying on screens when we enter play care. No parent that would see their children watching this would be okay with it. But for the young, unsuspecting minds of the orphans, they're being forced to watch this stuff. Oh, and here's a secret 11th detail. Go follow Don't Listen Before Bed, my podcast on Spotify, or anywhere you want to listen to podcasts. I've been finding the craziest spooky stories on the internet and telling them to you guys. And you'll also meet my childhood best friend, who's slowly developing insomnia because he keeps listening before bed. I'd go rate it 5 stars and listen right now, or else I'll get Catnap to do this to you.